Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all viewers. So, welcome back to our monthly live stream for our first edition of this year, so the April edition. In this April edition, we have another excellent guest, as is always our pleasure to present it. And I will add you to the stage. We have here Felipe Pires, so a special thank you to Felipe for accepting our invitation, and also to Otavio for facilitating this mediation as always, and helping us with this dynamic text bytes. And we are growing thanks to his collaboration also, and to speakers like you, Felipe, that help us and participate in our live stream. So again, thanks, Felipe, and welcome to our X Bytes powered by XGeeks. So I will just do a little presentation about it because some of our viewers already know me, but I am Fabio Sampaio, the community manager at XX and also community builder. And as I told you, Felipe Pires is with us today. He's a threat and security researcher and cybersecurity advocate at Senha Segura. And his topic for today, his talk will be about cloud attack based on misconfiguration, a graph-based an analytic approach. And I won't talk much about you, Felipe, or about your talk because I think that the viewers are here to listen to you, not to me. Please, please, Felipe, I will quit the stage and put your presentation, and
Yes,
the
sure.
floor is yours. Thank you, Felipe. Again,
Yeah.
everything that you need, I'm here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Fabio. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. Thank you, Otavio, for this invitation. And by the way, I'm living here in Portugal at this moment. I live in the north. The city that I live in is Espinho here. It's near in the big city. It's amazing city, by the way. And I'm Brazilian guy. And during our conversation, I will looking from my right side here, and I have here the another monitoring. So if you have some questions, you can put there. You can do a different way. We can let's do this thing like a conversation, okay? So that's the idea during this conversation. So I will divide these presentations in two parts, let's say. I will explain the theoretic part. Sometimes it's not a good part, but it's important. And after that, I will explain how the attacker can gain the access in the cloud environment. And after that, I will explain how you can mitigate this, and I will do an invitation to everybody. Okay, so just a brief information about me. Okay, so who am I? Basically, I'm threat research and cybersecurity advocate at Senha Segura. Senha Segura, it's a Brazilian company responsible for providing different products. One of the main products, it's a product called PAN Core. It means Privilege Access Management. So everything about the vault inside of the different organizations. And I'm one of the responsible for creating new technology from not only this project, but for the cloud solution product in this moment, and advocate of the brand and talk about cybersecurity, talking different security events, DevOps event, and a new technology event as well. Okay, and I'm one of the advisor of this company's Black and White Technology. It's a basically it's a training company. Let's say I'm instructor and training. When you talk about the cybersecurity, I talk about the defensive security, offensive security, application security, everything about cybersecurity I can teach. Okay, I'm very active in different security community, as you can see here, and I'm a part of the advocate and this specifically project that I like a lot called hacking. It's not a crime. The idea behind of this project is to explain how is the mindset about the hacking. It is nice because I have a cap, and I went to the supermarket here in Portugal, and one lady looked at me in this cap, and the cap is writing hacking is a lifestyle. And when she looked at me, she looked at me, has a scare, as you can see, saying, wow, I'm talking with the hacker. And then I needed to explain to her that the hacker, it's not like a move. Hacking is a lifestyle, how you can use your creative mind. That's the idea. When you talk about the criminals, We talk about the, the threat actors, the attackers, not a hacker. Hacker is a creative. If you are a developer, for example, you are a hacker as well. When you create something new, you using this kind of acknowledgement, this creative. And I mean, a Snyk ambassador, Snyk is the open source part, by the way. It's a SaaS solution. It's a statistical analysis code. And I'm one of the co-leads, the leaders of the DevCon groups in São Paulo. It's a community focused on spread the message about the cybersecurity. And I'm very, and I'm speaker and very collaborator of the Red Team Village, one of the main village on DevCon, the main hacking community event or hacking event in the US. Okay. And if you'd like to write some articles about the security stuffs, you can try to publish in the 3 magazine. I'm instructor, writer, and reviewer of those 3 magazines. It's a very nice picture that I like to show to my kids. And by the way, probably they are watching me now. So because of that, I put in this slide. Okay, that's important from them. Nice. So let me explain some a few theoretic parts here. So I will put every people in the same page to explain what is a threat. Okay, it's very fast. Is a simple definitions based on this ISO. Okay, is a potential incident that can cause something in systems or organization. But what kind of, Philip? What kind of problem or can happen in my organization? It means software attack, theft of intellectual property, identity theft. It means this is important word, identity, because in the end of the day, this is part of the item that the attacker like to theft to explore the environment. Okay, sabotage, it's a kind of threats, and information storage are example of the information security threats. Okay, just a simple definition. Let's talk about another topic. Okay, so let me explain what is exactly high value target or ATVT. It's a simple definition. Usually when you talk about the cybersecurity, usually comes from the military origin. Okay, when you talk about, for example, Q chain or cyber Q chain, it means a cyber Q chain comes to the Q chain. That's the military terminology that's important. And when you talk about the high value target, it means that a specific term given to a person or a resource. Okay, so let's think about the cloud now. So we have a different resources when you talk about the cloud. We have a person like you that you are watching me now, or when you watch me after, for example, on YouTube channel or other channel. Remember, you are a person, you have a rule behind of you, and not only this, but a part of the group of this, you have a rule, a part of that, and not only this, but maybe you have a relationship with another group that give you a certain permissions and specifically research inside of the cloud. So when you talk about the military or the United States military terminology, it means focus on the enemy. That's the point here, to complete the mission. So sometimes when you think about the organization, if one of these persons or information or the system is compromised, can be the single point of failure. Okay, so that's important to understand about that. So who are the ones of the post if it suffers some attack? Who is the person or who is the resource is the high value target? Usually we think that is mainly focused on, for example, a C-level, the board member, the person that has, for example, the high privilege, or the board member or senior executive management. Usually the people think that this is some people important, but when you talk about the cloud environment, remember the title of our conversation is everyone that has important access inside of the cloud. That's the key here. It means that everyone that works with an sensitive or high stake project is one of the high value target. This is a very important term to understand during our conversation, because in the cloud, again, we have many possibilities for the attacker perspective to explore the environment. So different people, different research, different permissions. Let's talk about another term, attack vector and attack path. It's not versus, but it's two different terms. when you talk about the attack vector, is usually is the method used by the cyber attackers, again, the threat actor, not the hacker, okay? The cyber attackers or attackers. Usually the attack vector is the method used to compromise and specifically, I mean, it's an entry point the attacker has to gain the access inside of the organization. Let's suppose that my hand here is the organization. So if I have here, this is, the color is not so good, but let me change for this another object. Okay, the object doesn't work, but let me my phone here. So this is the entry point inside of the organization. So this is the attack vector, the method that I use to and to gain the access inside of the organization. Okay, so sometimes you can probably you already heard about the malware, is acronym of the malicious software or ransomware. When you encrypt this, when the attacker encrypts something and requests a payment, okay, is a kind of attack vector. Or the attacker can using a phishing. Phishing is a kind of email that attackers send for everyone in the organization. And when the people looking from this email, they try to see this email and clicking something. And when they click something, in fact, their environment. Okay, it's a common example of the attack vector. Other, usually this is more easier to understand what is exactly attack vector, but there are another kind of attack vector. One of this is focused on human error. In this case, it's not exactly a developer. Usually the security guy talks, the problem is the developer. But in my case, it's not the problem is not a developer, okay? It's the human error. Everyone can put in this error in the code or in the configuration that I will show you. For example, when you implementing the applications, for example, if you put in the wiki credentials, it's a kind of humor error. Another type is a poor encryption. Sometimes I need to implementing the applications and I'm using some kind of, poor encryptions, or even misconfiguration is the main topic of our conversation. Misconfiguration sometimes is I prefer sometimes to using the standard, configurations from the cloud, and sometimes based on this standard of these configurations, I am giving more privilege over privilege to the attacker. That's the important thing here. And another thing is allowing access to the sensitive information via privilege escalation. It means that based on a specifically action that you give to the specific person in the cloud, this person can escalate privilege inside of the cloud. That's important thing here, okay? Another term, attack path, okay? What is attack path? Basically is the visualization of the chain of the events, is the way that the attack vector, remember the malware or the misconfiguration the attacker using to explore the environment. So the attack path is the map, basically like this. So this is a very nice picture from OWASP risk. It's a simple map that you can see here that the threat agents, it means the person, okay? Attack vector, I already explained it, okay, what it is exactly. So let's suppose a misconfiguration or some different specifically permission that you give from a specific user, or sometimes they explore security weakness. It means, for example, some vulnerability in a web application, for example, and they gain the access and they gain the control or bypass the security controls. After that, they have any specifically access and specifically functions. The attacker can have some technical impacts, and in the end of the day, they will have a business impact, or your company will have some specific business impact. So that's the idea for the security perspective. You need to increase these protections, to give the life of the attacker more difficult, not easier in this case. Okay, so just a simple explanation. Okay, so I explained basically what it is exactly. Remember, threat, I explained what it is, attack path, attack vector, and now I will explain what is exactly AWS AAM. Probably if you work with AWS cloud provider, you know the simple thing that I will explain. But this specifically attack that I will show you during these conversations is applicable. We can apply this not only from AWS, but you can using this, for example, for Azure, for GCP, for OCI, I mean the Oracle Cloud, or even Alibaba, or whatever cloud provider, because the concept behind of this is almost the same, is the similar, okay? Because it's based on permissions. Of course, for some cloud provider is quite different because it depends on how the cloud provider works in this specifically integration, but usually is the same. So just to putting every people on the same page, what it is exactly AWS AAM. So usually is the service responsible for identity and access management to provide the control, the access to the resources in the AWS. Basically is the centrally management permissions that control every resource in AWS. It's more than 300 research in AWS. I think now it's 386 research. You can imagine more than 386 research that you need to give the specifically permission based on this only one resource. This AAM is responsible for providing permissions from this more than 86, research. So the IAM will be responsible for control the who is authenticated, who is authorized to access those resources in the cloud. Okay, so this is a simple statement or the bunch of informations, the elements that you need to have inside of AWS. Okay, I know sometimes it's quite technical explanation. If you're not a technical guy, no problem, and we will try to translate this for you. But if you are a technical guy, you will understand the thing that I will explain. But basically, is a specifically JSON file, okay, doc.json, that you have an element inside of this element to have many informations inside of this, okay. And if you see here, the main point to apply this configuration is the effect. As you can see here, effect uses to allow or deny, to indicate either the policy allow or deny access, simple like this, okay? So when you put in the JSON file, the element, one of these elements is the effect. The second one is the action, include a bunch of list of actions that the policy allow or deny, okay? And the other information's important thing is resource. Usually this informations, when you apply this, usually you like to use the asterisk because it's easier to, to implement this. But mainly in the cloud, mainly in AWS, when you put in the asterisk, because usually for the security perspective, you should know what is exactly the A or any AWS resource name, not putting asterisk, but it's more easier to put in the asterisk, because when you put the asterisk, you can access the all resources, because it's recommended by AWS to define what is exactly the right A or N, okay? And here is the simple example of this policy. I pick this example up from AWS, for example. If you see here, the version 1 is the AIM, again, Identity Access Management, read-only access, providing from AWS. Here is the JSON file, as you can see here, and if you see here the effect, again, the allow and the actions, you just have two specifically action. So if you are watching now, for example, by YouTube channel or your LinkedIn, for example, I would like to make a question to you. Maybe I don't know if you'll be comfortable to answer me, but if you see here is just a list, I just read information, so I just list and read. I cannot write nothing. As you can see here, I will put in bigger here. It's just a list or get. I cannot write nothing. So maybe the question is a safe or not safe? It's a good question for the audience. And by the way, Manuel, I'm looking here in my right side because I'm watching the comments here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. If you can put in here, Fabio, the manual comments, they comment the hardest part of the work with AAM
Yeah.
is achieving the balance of developer frictions. Yeah, I like this word. Yesterday, Manuel, I made another live, and we talk a lot about the friction and follow the least privilege access principle. That's correct, man. We should use the least privilege access principle. That's interesting. If you don't know, guys, what it is exactly, least privilege access principle is no one is trusted in your organization. This is the principle, basically, the least privilege. You need to give less access to everyone. And by the way, from the AWS perspective, one of the interesting thing here is the framework called AWS well architecture. When you implementing this in your environment, you need to follow many steps. One of these steps is the least privilege. So that's a important thing. And I believe and I agree with Manuel is the hardest part because we need to go deeply to understand each thing. So answered my questions because I remember the question that I made. So if just putting the list is safe or not safe, I have two answers to you guys. Basically, if you think about the right or the attacker perspective, I cannot write nothing. I cannot change nothing. So because of that, it's safe. But on the other hand, if you're working with a PII, okay, the private informations, for example, if you're not a user that should read this information, is not safe because you probably already heard about the GDPR, the others, regulamentations or something like this. So if you are a guy responsible for read information, you can list. But if you're not a guy responsible for read sensitive informations like a PII again, you cannot have this specifically permission. That's hardest part, as Manuel mentioned, and I agree with you, guy. Man, so that's the point here. So if you see here, the research is the asterisk, as I mentioned it. You see? So, and by the way, when you apply the this asterisk, you receive the warning from AWS. Let's think to me. Let's make a brainstorm here now. So let's think about this challenge that we have in our companies nowadays. So we have many developer teams access many apps. We have a DevOps teams to automate the process and access many systems. We have a database guy responsible for providing this database from the DevOps guy, and you have a developer guy, three different teams or squads or whatever name you prefer. They need to work in together. We need to work with a CI/CD pipeline, like a automation process. We have a cloud team responsible for give you this architecture to you. You have the leader of the business unit because the guy needs to control everything. And who is the guy responsible for give you this privileged access? Think about that. And sometimes we need to give the access to the C-level access. We have many guys working from home, for example. How we can treat in the least privilege concept, for remote workers, for example, we talk about the insider thread. Who is the insider thread? And sometimes we think that the insider thread is like a move again. So the guy using the cap, working the darkness, but no, it's not. It's not correct. Insider thread, usually they can use in the dark web, like the Tor or something like this. But sometimes they're using some forums open to the internet and they recruiting guys, just to open the door. And the door is not to disable whole policies and, make a mess inside of the environment. No, sometimes just to putting a misconfiguration there. That's it. Or just putting, the AWS key and security in the developer environment, and that's it. Open a GitHub, and that's it. So that's the point. So sometimes we think that the hacker is the guy. Again, that's is a misconception about the hacker, about the attacker, about the insider threat. So just to like to clarify this for everyone here. So, and what would be the risk impact if some data is leaked or exploited by the attacker? Okay, that's the point here. So let me give you an example. So the impact about that. So let's suppose, just to explain this, and by the way, I wrote an article and I published in the Test magazine. You can find this article. You can put in the link after the presentation. You can put it here in the YouTube channel, the link of this article. We can find this article in English in my LinkedIn as well, in my page. And if your English is not so good like in mine, you can read this article in Portuguese as well, because I wrote in Portuguese too. Okay, so basically, for this attack to happen, you need to have two elements basically to make this attack. One element is the AWS key, and the second element is the AWS secret. Okay, Philippe, so how I can get this information? You can do a crawler on GitHub, you can do a crawler on GitLab, you can try in a Bitbucket to find some possible informations, open to the internet. If you're a developer, you can try to find this information. You can try to using ChatGPT, for example, to bring this information. Probably, if you try, they will talk to you and they will say that is not a good procedure, is not safe. But you can count some history for the ChatGPT, and they can bring you this information. So after you have the AWS key and secret, you can connect in the AWS CLI. And after that, you can try to enumerate information. That's the procedure when you talk about the offensive security. So let's suppose in my example, for example, I gain the access and I specifically AWS key and secret, okay? And after that, I type AWS AAM list users, because my idea here is to try list a bunch of users that this account has. But if you see here, I received the access deny. Why? Because this user connected don't have these permissions, okay? So the second command that I tried, it was the AWS AM list policies. And again, I received the access deny. So the security guy works in a good way here. The third one, it was list group. And again, access deny. It means that the least privilege was applied in the right way. Okay, so nice. So now let me explain the impact about one single policy. If you see here, I went to the AWS console and I creating a new policy. If you see here, this is the service AAM. In this print screen, you can see two different actions, but it's enough just using only one, or create policy or create policy version. Works for both, okay? And if you see here, I put asterisk in resource. Can you see here the yellow color, let's say, I think is yellow, okay, is one warning because I put asterisk here, and I can confirm here in the next slide. So if you see here, I create the policy name, the policy, new policy called POC attack module, okay? If you see here, the resource asterisk, okay, and the action only one, AAM is the resource, and I put create policy version. One is enough. I don't need two, just only one. I can try both. You can try if you want after this conversation. This is the same element. Remember when I need to create a new policy or when I need to create a policy? So this is a simple element here. So I create this policy, and after that, I will explain the impact based on this only one actions. If you see here, I don't have any others actions, but if you see here, I just putting only one here. Okay, nice. And after that, I went to the Google and I asked to Google, so Google, tell me by AWS how I can create a new full access in AWS via CLI. And the Google suggested me this specifically JSON file. If you see here, and I put in attacker wrong because I forgot one T here, by the way, but he recommended me to using this AAM. If you see here the asterisk, based on this asterisk, I can access everything that I want to access from AAM. And not only this, but they suggest me to put in the organizations. Is uh, it's not necessary from this attack, but I just copy and paste just to explain you how easy it is to make this attack. Because you can describe account, describe organization. If you don't know what it is, organization basically is a kind of tree. You can have here the father, let's say the big father here, the organization. You can have more than one accounts behind of this organization. One is, for example, the metrics, or the headquarter account, the second office, the third office. For each office, you can have the account, and you have an organization is the big mother or big father or whatever is the main account. Okay, this is organization, the research from AWS. And after that, I asked to Google again. Google, tell me. You can ask it to the ChatGPT as well, but I asked to Google, sir, tell me how I can create a new policy version via CLI. CLI is a command line interface, okay, uh, from AWS. And they suggest me this command. As you can see here, AWS, AAM, because it's the service. Remember, I just have one action, create policy version. And after that, I need to set the A or N, AWS resource name. If you remember, this is the name of the policy that I created and I show you. And after that, I need to set the policy document. And if you see here, this is the document. By the way, the attacker is the wrong. I wrote wrong. Remember, without one T, I forgot one T, doc.json. And if you see here this parameter or this flag, dash dash set default, set as a default. What happened now? Simple like this. So I had this version 1, only one, and now I have a full access in the cloud. What is the impact? What is the impact? I can list all users in the AWS. I can list all policies. I can list all groups. I can create new things. I can create instance. I can create Lambda service. I can create load balancers. I can create VPCs. I can create whatever I want inside of the AWS. This is the impact. So let me show you here now one specifically open source project called Cartography. It's very nice. It's free. It's open source, by the way. Of course, you need to understand more about Neo4j database, as you can see here, Neo4j database. And you need to set here, you need to take some cipher queries to identify inside of your cloud environment how many users, as you can see here, AWS user in the orange color, okay, how many user I have with this AAM create policy. If you see here, I have Anna, by the way, the name of my wife, Bill, Ted is not two N. In my wife is one N, let's say. Is Anna, Bill, Ted, James, and Felipe Pires. Those 5 guys have these actions. So what that means, Felipe? Basically, those 5 people can suffer this attack, as I show you, okay? Based on because these 5 guys are part of this group. If you see here, AWS group, okay? Based on this AAM policy and based on this statement, create policy version. So this is one tool that you can see. Another tool is AWS PX. And I have here my virtual machine, by the way, I can show you. This is the live demo. So if it's live demo, please cross your fingers for the lords of demos. Let's see what happened now. So this is basically my virtual machine here. And I will show you how the AWS PX works. So I can put in here from anywhere to a specifically effective admin. In this case, is a kind of full access in their they call the pseudo full admin in this case, the high value target. But if you see here, we have many users. Anna is one of these user to gain the access in this high value target. Felipe Pires is another one. User default is a group, as you can see here. And you have here Ted, James, and Bill. Based on those 3 users, you can go here, and after that, you can go here based on the information. But take a look, this is interesting here. So if I click here and put in inbound actions, take a look this. Let me check here. Yeah, here, this CEO, okay. In this case, this guy has, for example, 15 actions. Now, this is the support guy. Now, I would like to show the CFO. Here, they have 49 actions. It's not so good to show you here, but I will show you in the better in the best way. 1 second. Here, okay. Let me show you here. Take a look at this one. Let's see how many actions this our CFO, this important guy, because they will pay our salary, right? Take a look this interesting thing here. So they have, for example, update access key. They have, for example, update user. They have, for example, delete user policy. They have attach user policy. They have a change password. So my question to you now, so why this guy has this, not only this, but create policy? As you can see, 49 possible actions. So you can see the impact of this user has. In this guy, in this case, is a CFO. Let me go to another one here, another user, simple here. I have one user here, interesting. Let me go to another query here again. Let me go to Anna. I like this Anna. Let me go to the inbound here, and let's see here. Anna is a part of the support the user group policy permission. Sorry, she is a part of the AIM only access permissions. Okay, and she's a part of the AIM demo, and she's a part of the Tor lab here. So it's more than one different policy. Okay, and if you see here, she had, for example, 47. I think it is small, but yes, 47 actions here, 6. So you can multiply here. If you see here, more than 50. Here she had more, almost 50. You can see the impact. So she has many actions, as you can see here. If I click here, for example, she has attached. Let me read better here. She has a put a user policy. It means she can put a new policy attached to the specifically user. She can attach a user policy. Why she needs this? Because of that, she has a high privilege. Okay, so that's interesting part here. Okay, I show the problem, so how I can solve it. So that's the point here. So how, okay, you show us how is the problem, so how I can solve this. So we created on Senha Segura this project called Build With Us. Basically, the idea behind of this project is to invite people and companies to participate with us to building the best cloud security solutions. How this works, Philippe? Basically, you just need to join here and you receive a free access in our platform. Okay, just to using is a community version. You have a full access here. When you put in this basically join, you can use in your email from your company, or if you prefer, you can use your private personal email. It doesn't matter. Of course, we can help the companies, but sometimes we can do some tests privately. You just need to have AWS or GCP or Azure environment to test. Basically, when you access this, we will receive this access. If you see here in the beginning, take a look at this. This is our sandbox mode. What that means? Basically, you don't need to integrate with anything. Just click here in Cloud Entitlements, Access, and here is the template or the mock. Probably developer know how this expression is a template, okay? So here is our tool that can help you to mitigate this problem, the actions, okay? So we have here many different identities, okay, that you can find in, for example, to receive some recommendations. Here you can see the recommendation basic. This recommendation is based on some security policies, as you can see here in this site, security policy. What kind of security policy, Philippe? If you see here, we have many security policies from AWS, GCP, and Azure, okay? So if you see here, user verify if user has a MFA enabled, how many users, rules, or group. Remember my example here, administrator access here. This is an open source, but here is an enterprise, but in this case, it's a community version. You can use it for free, whatever you want, okay? So user, rules, and group, they will show you if you have some user with this privilege, they will show you in the platform. The access to all resource. When they looking, for example, for GCP, if you have a GCP, for example, they are looking from for the administrator privilege. In Azure, the same case. For each cloud provider, they have some recommendations. And based on the security policies, they will calculate this cloud health here from you. They will show you how is the health of your cloud environment. This is a nice view for the managers, not for a technical guy. Usually the technical guy like me, like this graphic is more easier to see, but for the manager, they like to see in this visual, okay? But they can show you how is the health of your environment. Let me go to my environment here, my lab environment. It's a fake information here. It's not real users. I just create for the demo perspective. If you see here, take a look at this Anna. If I click here, here is the recommendations from she in this case, from her in this case. So she has the administrator access. She didn't have, she shouldn't have this access. So here is the recommendation. What is the recommendation? To go to the AWS console, select user, and change the policy. You can click here. You will redirect you to the AWS documentations. If you would like to accept the risk, you can procedure with that. Okay. So here in general information, you can check, for example, how many services she use it during the certain time, like 30 days, 90, 60 days, 90 days, or what kind of service she never use it. It's super important because, as you can see here in this example, she has overprivilege and she never use it. Actually, AWS updated this. Remember, I told you 386. Actually, during the last time that I present this talk, AWS created new 5 resources. This is the cloud, man. This works in this way. And the last one, but less important, is the access path, is the way, the visualization that you can check, that you can see here. For example, here is the caption, okay? What is a service, user, policies, rules, group, and actions. Remember the actions as I show you. And if you see here, services access in 90 days or never access. Let's see what is the services never access from she, for her in this case. She never access the account. She never logged. Not never, but inside of this time, 90 days, she never or never accessed, or she accessed between 90 days. Okay, so that's interesting part of this graph. And not only this, but remember about the attack that I show you about the what is the name is the create policy version. If you click here, create policy version, let's see here. Let me open here, create policy version that I show you. Remember of that? Basically, she can suffer this attack. Okay, Anna is the user. This is the group policy, user default, and based on this AAM DEM policy, they have an access the AAM service, and they have this specifically actions. Okay, guys. So based on that, I finish the presentation. I make the demo. Okay, this is here some print screen just to show you about the how the tool works actually. But I do the demo, and the lords of them help me during this presentation. So basically, here is the graph. As I show, you can see more than one um, cloud providers. You can see here, for example, reports to check, to see. Again, it's free. It's a community you can use it. We have some ideas for new integrations like, GitLab, GitHub, Kubernetes, Oracle Cloud, and so on and so far. Okay. And I finish here my presentations. And this is my contacts. And not only this, but I'm writing this book, probably will be published in the end of this year, Defensive Version Techniques for Ready Teamers and Penetration Testers with my friend Joas. Some books that I like and I recommend to you. And here, if you would like to contact me or reach me out, feel free to talk with me by whatever social media you want. Okay, I have here my webpage. You can find some talks. And that's it, Fabio, for today.
Amazing, 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 Philip. An amazing live stream workshop talk. I don't know because I think it was all in one. And let's see if you have any questions. And I'm very glad to say that we have more than 40 people watching us right now. I think it's very good. I think it's almost a meetup. So I think it's very good to have so
Amazing.
much people watching us. And yeah, until we have some questions, I would like to. I already told you before, but in this session we always have a question from the previous speaker that we ask to the next one. And in that case, the question is, and I am going to ask you, how was your journey to where you are right now, and why did you become what you become? And after that, I will ask you to also leave a question for the next speaker, please.
Yes, sure. Good question. I don't have a normal journey, let's say, because I'm graduated actually in process management. I'm not a technical guy. I'm not a geek guy. I like football. I like I like to go to gym. I like to see series on Netflix, and I'm not a geek guy, let's say. Because I'm graduated in the process management. I was a salesperson in the past, and but in 2010, I think I moved to the technical career, and after that I started to the technical career journey, let's say. And when I started to learn it technically, I I saw that I have some differentiator, let's say, because I can talk with the technical people and I can talk with non-technical people. That's one of my main skills. Okay, and it's not easy, of course, but the one thing that I can recommend the people is to study a lot and share the knowledge, man, and participate in meetups and community. Because when you
Yeah,
learn something, for example, I am studying actually about the cloud for the last 3 years, and and I start to learn the cloud, to understand how the cloud works. Because let's think with me, for example, I'm came from came from the traditional architecture, when you have a hardware, okay, and after that we need to create a new concept called virtualization. You need to broke the hardware based on hypervisor, okay. You need to establish the virtual machines. But when you move to the cloud, you need to break this concept to create a new concept based on research, based on puzzle, and that's the journey. You should participate, and I learned a lot with the communities, and the meetups. Because of that, I always recommend the people to participate in meetups and events, not only security events, but we have a DevOps days, we have OWASP events for the security perspective, of course. We should participate, and if you learn something, if you like to talk, of course, you can share with someone, because probably someone can learn with you. That's a good way to learn.
Sorry, I was finding my unmute button, and it's very nice to hear from you things like community, tech, and non-tech. Because as you know, regarding community, I totally agree with you. Because my role as a community manager and a community builder, and I talk with so many people, technical and not technical, and I'm also not a technical person. My background is sociology and management, and I only start in this 1 year and a half, and it's because of the community that I'm learning so much. And like you, I think that I'm also becoming able to interact with both technical and no technical people.
Yeah.
So I'm the living proof right now that is possible. And yeah, it's amazing that you have said that. So yeah, thank you, Felipe. Thank you for this amazing answer that you gave us. And yeah, I'd like for you to share with us the question for our next speaker, if you may.
Yes. Yeah, I needed to check, because I wrote to you, but I didn't remember. But I
Yeah.
see it. The question is simple, actually. Is basically what the knowledge base that the speaker in this case used to improve the technical skills. Because in the past we don't have many research to study. You don't have we didn't have communities and or even books to study. But nowadays, I'm here, for example, in Espinho. You are what are you?
Viseu.
Viseu.
I'm from Viseu.
Viseu,
Yeah.
in the north.
In the north.
uh,
Yeah.
in the north, yeah. And the others guy that were watching now, or the guys that are watching now, probably can be in another country. And because of the technology, it's easier to learn. So that's the point. So what is the knowledge base?
Yeah.
Because again, so talk about the cybersecurity is not difficult. The difficulty is to understand the basis. For example, basis of the cloud has Manuel mentioned, and during our conversation, is the hardest part is to understand the least privilege, how I can apply this, how I can apply that. I need to read the documentations, I need to read the manual, but I don't like to read, Philip. Okay, but you did.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the point here.
Amazing question. Let's see what the next speaker says, and I will forward the answer to you, or the recording to you, next recording to you, just you to notice what she said, because it will be a woman next time. So yeah. So I think that we have no questions. I think that your talk was enlightening as possible, and I and I agree with that. As I said, we had an amazing attendance, 42 people. So I think it's very good for end of the day live stream, where everyone is a little bit tired. But I think it's very good. It's one of our records. So thank you again, Philip, for accepting the challenge and for being with us today. So thank you all the viewers. Thank you all. See you next time.
Yeah,
Bye
it's
bye.
my pleasure. See you. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye, Philip.